Narrator, in the 41st millennium, in a galaxy that knows only darkness, there is a singular suffocating truth: there is only war. But war in its raw, brutal physicality is merely the currency of the material realm. It is the crude exchange of steel, blood, and fire. The true conflict, the great game that defines all existence, is fought with a different coin. A coin of far greater value: the soul. In an age of cold iron and even colder stars, the soul is the last vestige of warmth. It is the immaterial essence of a being, a mote of coherent light in an infinite boiling ocean of psychic darkness. It is the resonance of a life, lived, a collection of memories, fears, and passions that burns with a pale, defiant glow. This light, this essence, is the only resource that truly matters. It is the fuel for the golden throne, a billion human souls sacrificed daily, their psychic screams stretched into a single, agonizing note of guidance that holds the imperium of man together. It is the sustenance for the ruinous powers, the psychic banquet upon which they feast, growing fat on the amplified emotions of a trillion suffering minds. And for one, the soul is not just food. It is the raw material. It is the clay. It is the medium for the ultimate art, change. They call him the architect of fate, the great conspirator, the changer of ways, Tzeentch. To understand the fate of a soul claimed by him, one must first understand the nature of the trap. It is not a crude snare laid with obvious malice. Look to his brothers. Khorne the blood god is honest in his barbarity. He demands skulls, and his roar is unambiguous. He is the storm, the axefall, the sudden arterial spray. Nurgle, the grandfather of pestilence, offers a different kind of peace, the numb, resigned embrace of entropy. He offers an end to striving, a surrender to the inevitable, blissful decay. He is the corpse rot, the final, gentle sigh of despair. Slaanesh, the prince of pleasure, is the siren's call, the scream of pure, agonizing ecstasy. The Dark Prince demands sensation, piled upon sensation, excess, to the point of self-annihilation. They are base, they are predictable, their traps are built from rage, despair, and lust. But Tzeentch is subtle. He is the whisper in the shadows of the scriptorium. He is the impossible idea that flashes in the mind of a cornered general. He is the sudden, inexplicable surge of control that saves a psyker from their own power. Tzeentch does not offer rage or despair or mindless pleasure. He offers the most potent, most seductive, and most lethal poison in a galaxy defined by crushing, monolithic hopelessness. He offers hope. Hope. The hope for a different tomorrow. The hope that the grinding, bureaucratic boot of the Adeptus Terra is not the final word on human destiny. The hope that the ancient lore of a forgotten age is not truly lost, but merely hidden, waiting for a mind brilliant enough to uncover it. The hope that the unwinnable battle can be won, that the encroaching Xenos fleet can be outmaneuvered, that the oppressive silence of the void can be filled with the sound of discovery. This is the hook. This is the great and terrible lie. For in a universe built upon ordained stagnation, in an imperium that sanctifies ignorance and worships death, the very desire for change is the first and most profound heresy. The simple human yearning to improve is the crack in the armor through which the architect of fate slips his tendrils. So we must ask, we must dare to look past the veil into the shifting crystalline heart of the great labyrinth. When a mortal pressed by the unbearable weight of a cold and uncaring reality looks to the void and begs not for salvation, not for strength, but simply for a different path. When a scholar desires forbidden knowledge, believing it can be controlled. When a commander seeks an impossible, unorthodox victory to save their soldiers. When a psyker hunted and terrified yearns not just to survive, but to understand the fire in their own mind. And when Tzeentch, the Master of Nine, the great schemer, turns his multifaceted, ever-changing gaze upon them, and from amidst the infinite strands of destiny listens, what truly happens to their core? What is the price of that single whispered hope? Where does the soul, that precious singular light, actually go? And what, in the endless twisting designs of the architect of fate, does it become? Narrator, to understand the bargain, you must first understand the commodity. We speak of the immaterium, the empyrean, the sea of souls. Most mortals in their blessed crushing ignorance call it the warp. It is not a place in any sense a human mind can comprehend. It is not an alternate dimension of space and time. It is a parallel existence, an infinite boiling ocean of raw, unbridled psychic energy. It is the collective unconscious of every thinking, feeling creature in the galaxy given form and monstrous life. Every dream, every nightmare, every surge of primal terror, every flicker of burning ambition, every unspoken prayer. It is all here. It does not fade. It accretes. It festers. To the entities that dwell within this storm, the material galaxy, what we call reality, is a cold, dark, shallow seabed. And scattered across this bleak expanse are lights. Every living thing with a glimmer of consciousness casts a reflection in this sea. A simple beast may be a faint, fleeting phosphorescence. A Tau, for all its technological might, is a dim, almost sterile pinprick, lacking the fiery resonance that attracts the predators. But humanity, oh humanity! Each human soul is a bonfire in the dark. They are not calm or steady. They are frantic, desperate, violent bursts of light, burning with a spectrum of raw, unfiltered emotion. They blaze with terror, they spark with rage, they flicker with deceit, and they glow with that most dangerous, most delicious of all energies, hope. Their sheer numbers, their psychic intensity makes them the dominant feature of the galactic seabed. They do not just shine, they scream, and they are not alone. The fading embers of the Eldar race burn with a sharp, agonizing violet, a remnant of an ancient conflagration so bright it tore a hole in the very fabric of reality. These beacons are not merely seen, they are felt, they are tasted, they are the prey. The great gods of chaos are not rulers in the mortal sense, they are vortices. They are infinite sentient hungers formed from the very emotions that create the storm. They feed on the echoes of the material world, and the soul is the ultimate sustenance. A soul is not a single simple thing. It is the totality of a being, the unique psychic signature of a life. It is the ghost of every choice, the scar of every trauma, the fading warmth of a first memory, the cold, hard logic of a tactical decision. It is the consciousness. It is the self. When Khorne claims a soul, he devours its rage, its pain, its martial pride, breaking it down into raw red fuel for his eternal war. When Nurgle claims a soul, he absorbs its despair, its fear of the end, and its final shuddering surrender, dissolving it into the mulch of his entropic garden. When Slaanesh claims a soul, it is savored its every sensation, every desire, every agony of pleasure and pain, drawn out like a fine thread until the self is annihilated in pure excess. To lose one's soul in this way is not to die. Death is a simple cessation. This is to be unwritten. It is to have the narrative of your existence, the very concept of you, torn from the pages of reality, consumed and digested. It is to become nothing more than a momentary surge of power for an endless laughing hunger. This is the fundamental terror of the 40K universe. This is the stake in the great game. All souls are fuel, but not all souls are equal. Most human beacons, for all their brightness, are contained. They are sealed within the shell of their flesh and the mundane prison of their own limited perceptions. They are food, yes, but simple food. And then there are the others, the special ones, the open flames, the psyker, the witch, the sorcerer, the conduit. Their souls are different. They are not contained. They are doorways. Their light does not just burn, it spills. It actively leaks into the immaterium, and the immaterium in turn leaks back. Their minds are a two-way street in a city of one-way alleys. They can touch the sea of souls, and more terrifyingly, the Sea of Souls can touch them. This connection, this vibrancy, this potential to warp reality itself with a thought, makes their essence uniquely potent. To the entities of the Empyrean, the soul of a common man is a sip of water. The soul of a psyker is a draught of intoxicating liquid fire. They are despised, feared, and hunted by the Imperium for this very reason. They are the ultimate vulnerability. They are the walking invitation for the predator. And to the architect of fate, the one who deals not in crude rage or simple despair, but in the intricate, beautiful mathematics of destiny, in the manipulation of knowledge, in the very concept of change. The psyker is not just a meal. It is a key. It is a tool, a weapon, a nascent artist, a perfect, malleable piece for the great game. Their potential to rewrite the rules of reality is precisely what Tzeentch craves. They are his chosen instruments, his most treasured pupils, his most brilliant, and his most utterly, tragically, and inevitably doomed. Narrator, the damnation of a soul does not begin with a thunderclap. It does not start with a pact signed in blood, nor a grand ritual under a fractured moon. The hand of Tzeentch does not descend from the heavens to smite and corrupt. No, it begins as all great tragedies do, quietly, with a whisper, with a simple rational need. Observe. See this man actuary lexis ordinate Malachi hunched over a data slate in a scriptorium deep within the bowels of an administratum fortress. He is a man of logic, a cog in the great imperial machine. But he is also a man of ambition. For 3 decades he has catalogued the meaningless logistical failures of forgotten crusades. But in secret he studies the redacted texts, the forbidden histories. He is driven by a burning intellectual pride. He believes he is smarter than the censors, than the inquisitors. He believes he can find the pattern they all missed. He is currently failing. A coded communique from a rogue trader dynasty eludes him. It is nonsense, a jumble of picked glyphs and dead languages. His career, his secret life's work, hinges on this translation. He stares into the green-black screen until his eyes bleed, his mind screaming for a key for a single logical starting point. He is desperate not for power, but for understanding. Observe another. Colonel Arvus Vask commanding the shattered remnants of the 51st Cadian shock troops on the mudball planet of Xylos. The orcs have broken his lines. His men are trapped in a ruined Basilica Vox channels, screaming with static and terror. Every Tactica Imperialis maneuver has been tried and has failed. His superiors have ordered him to hold at all costs a glorious sacrifice for an emperor who cannot possibly know his name. He is a good soldier. He is loyal. But as he hears the growing roar of the greenskin charge, he is also a man who does not want his command to die for nothing. He is desperate not for Gloria Startes, but for a chance. A way out. Observe this last one. A girl no older than 16 named Ilara. She huddles in the rusting pipe warrens of a hive city's undercroft. She is a psyker, unsanctioned, untrained. Her gift is a curse. It is a bonfire in her skull that she cannot control. When she is scared, things happen. Men catch fire. Metal melts. The air screams. Now she hears the heavy rhythmic tread of boots. She smells the burning brand of the witch hunter. His mind is a cold, hard point of singular murderous intent in the warp. He is close. She can do nothing but squeeze her eyes shut, her own power rising like bile in her throat, threatening to consume her before he even finds her. She is desperate not for revenge, but for control. Just 1 second of control. 3 souls. 3 moments of utter human desperation. The fabric of fate strains around them, and the architect of fate from his impossible throne notices. He does not send a demon. He does not offer a bargain. He simply nudges. Malachi the scholar slumps in exhaustion, his head striking the cold plasteel of his desk. His hand spasms, striking a loose panel beneath the console. He has worked at this desk for 20 years. It has never had a loose panel. He pulls it away. Inside, nestled in dust, is a single ancient data chip, its casing of a design he has never seen. He connects it. It is not a grand grimoire. It is a simple linguistic analysis, a cross-reference of pre-imperial merchant cants. Harmless, trivial. He applies its logic to the rogue trader's code. The glyphs, they shift. A single line of text resolves. Not the whole message, but a fragment. The ninefold star reveals the path. It is a start. It is the key. Malachi feels a jolt of pure intellectual triumph. He did it. His brilliance, his persistence, he found the answer. The origin of the Chip A filing error, a forgotten relic, a stroke of luck. He dismisses it. He is already working on the next line of code. Colonel Vask, pistol in hand, prepares to give the order for the final charge. He glances at the ruined tactical map smeared with blood and mud. And suddenly he sees it. The logic is insane. It is heretical. It violates every principle of Cadian warfare. The orcs are attacking the main gate, the strongest point. They expect a defense there, but the old collapsed sewage conduit to the west, the one his surveyors marked as a death trap. What if he detonates the Prometheum reserve not at the gate, but in the conduit, creating a vacuum, a sudden violent backdraft? It would pull the orcs off balance, expose their flank. It is a 1 in a million chance. It is a thought of such profound, unorthodox clarity that he does not question where it came to him. It is inspiration. It is his. He screams the new orders. The charge is diverted. The Prometheum explodes. The west wall is breached by his own hand. For a terrible second, there is silence. Then the orc attack wavers, confused by the new opening. Vask leads the countercharge into their exposed flank. It is a butchery, but it works. They have a foothold. They have a chance. Colonel Vask has outthought the beast. The witch hunter kicks open the rusted grate to Alara's hiding place. He sees her, a coiled knot of terror. He raises his Inferno pistol, his lips curling in a snarl of righteous judgment. Witch, Alara screams. The fire rises in her mind, a white-hot nova of panic. But this time, it does not explode. The witch hunter's pistol, the very air around his hand changes. It doesn't melt. It doesn't burn. It transmutes instantly into a mass of fragile, swirling blue-pink crystal. The man stops, his eyes wide with disbelief, his finger frozen on a trigger that is now a shard of glass. The moment of shock is all she needs. She bolts, scrambling into a deeper, darker pipe. She runs for an hour. When she finally stops, her heart hammering, she looks at her own hands. She has never done that before. She didn't know how to do that. It felt precise. It felt easy. In the darkness alone, she tries to summon that feeling again. That cold, beautiful, perfect control. She wants it back. The hook is set. Do you see? No pact was made. No god was named. Tzeentch has offered them exactly what they craved. Malachi received a clue. Vask received a strategy. Alara received control. They do not see a demonic intervention. They see their own success. Malachi credits his intellect. Vask credits his desperate brilliance. Alara credits her own latent strength. They believe they are the masters of their own fate. This is the first and most masterful deception. They have accepted the gift. They have succeeded because of it. And now, they want more. The scholar desires the rest of the message. The soldier, having tasted unorthodox victory, will now look for it again. The psyker, having felt control, will now actively seek to use her power. They have begun to rely on this sudden, brilliant inspiration. They have begun to listen to the whisper they believe is their own. Tzeentch has begun to pull the string. Narrator, the first success is a hook. The second is a shackle. The third is a chain. The gifts of the Architect of Fate are not free. A price is exacted, but it is not a price the mortal mind is equipped to recognize. It is not paid in gold or blood or even in servitude. Not yet. It is paid in self. Look at Malachi the scholar. The rest of the rogue trader's communique has fallen into place. It was not just a shipping manifest. It was a map, a guide to a hidden library of Xeno's archaeotech. He is ecstatic. He is also addicted. Now, when he faces a new piece of forbidden code, the silence in his mind is no longer a void to be filled with his own intellect. It is a terrifying absence. He needs the whisper. He finds he cannot work without the lucky data chip from the hidden panel. He holds it, rubbing its smooth alien surface. He begins to arrange his data slates on his desk, not in order of importance, but in a strange, spiraling pattern that feels correct. He taps his stylus 9 times before inputting a command. He tells himself these are harmless idiosyncrasies, the eccentricities of genius. But they are not. They are the gestures of a new, unacknowledged faith. They are the somatic components of a prayer. Look at Colonel Vask. Vask's gambit has entered the informal tactica of the Xylos campaign. He is a hero, but his reputation now rests on his ability to produce more miracles. The High Command expects the unorthodox. His men depend on it. The pressure is immense. He finds the standard doctrines of warfare to be dull, flat, and useless. He sits in his command tent staring for hours into the flickering blue flame of a leaking promethium lamp. He no longer analyzes tactical data. He waits. He waits for the flash of inspiration, that cold, perfect alien logic that will show him the enemy's hidden weakness. He sketches the spiraling pattern of the sewage conduit explosion again and again in the margins of his maps. He has stopped praying to the Emperor for guidance. He has, without ever forming the thought, begun to pray to the idea of brilliance itself, to the spark. Look at Alara. She is no longer just prey, she is a predator. The witch hunter's crystallized hand was found, and now others hunt her. But she is not afraid. She is learning. That moment of perfect crystalline control, she can summon it again. But it is fickle. It slips through her mental grasp like water. She discovers quite by accident that it works better when she traces a specific, complex, 9-pointed sigil in the air with her finger. She finds it focuses her mind when she whispers a sequence of 9 liquid, sibilant syllables she heard in a dream. She believes this is a mnemonic device, a psychic focusing tool, a way to structure the raw power of the warp. She does not know that she is drawing the sigil of her new master. She does not know she is speaking his name. And as the soul bends, the flesh must follow. The material form is weak. It cannot contain the unbound energy of the Empyrean without showing the strain. The first subtle marks of the new allegiance begin to show. Malachi works for 72 hours straight, fueled by an energy he does not recognize. He rubs his tired eyes and glances at his reflection in the dark screen of his data slate. He freezes. His left eye, once a muddy brown, is different. The iris is now a brilliant, piercing sapphire shot through with motes of gold that seem to shift and swim, forming patterns that almost look like script. He pulls his hood lower. He tells himself it is a burst blood vessel, a trick of the light, the strain of his work. It is a small price to pay for the universe of knowledge now opening before him. Vask is caught in a mortar blast. He is thrown against a rock-crete wall, his face slashed by shrapnel. The medici patches him up. But the wound on his right cheek does not heal as flesh. It seals over in a matter of hours, replaced by a patch of smooth, iridescent scales, the color of a thundercloud. He feels no pain from it. It is hard, cold, and numb. He covers it with a false synth flesh patch, blaming Xenos weaponry or chemical contaminants in the air. He sees it as a scar of war. He does not see it as the brand of his patron. Elara's hands, her instruments of power, are changing. The skin, once calloused and dirty, has become smooth, pale, and eerily perfect. But when she channels her power, a faint blue-pink light shines from beneath her fingernails, and the lines on her palms, they shift. They rearrange themselves daily, forming new patterns, new prophecies that she almost can read. She hides them in rags, terrified. But she is also fascinated. It is a small price for the power to survive. They hide the changes. They rationalize them. They accept them as the cost of their success. The scene dissolves back into the abstract, boiling sea of souls. We see the three lights, the three bonfires of the scholar, the soldier, and the psyker. Narrator. But the true change, the most profound and irreversible sigil, is not written on the skin. It is imprinted on the essence. Look, their lights in the immaterium are no longer pure. The golden white fire of their human spirit remains, but it is no longer whole. A new thread has been woven into the tapestry of their being. At the very core of Malachi's light, a wisp of cold electric blue has taken root, twisting like a serpent the color of forbidden knowledge. In Vask's flame, a shard of cold, hard, geometric pink has embedded itself the color of an insane, perfect, inhuman logic. And Ilara's fire, it is now shot through with shimmering prismatic feathers of light, the very essence of change itself. They are no longer just human souls, they are claimed. The sigil is invisible in the material realm. No inquisitor's gaze can find it, no witch hunter's brand can burn it away. Not yet. But in the Empyrean it blazes. To the entities that swim in that great ocean, these souls are no longer unowned. They are marked. They are the property of the architect of fate. The bargain has been struck, though the victims are unaware a bargain even existed. The payment has been accepted, though they do not know they were paying. The hook is not merely set, it is barbed. And any attempt to pull it out now will not free the soul. It will, O narrator, the first gift of Tzeentch, the one that defines his essence, is not mutation. It is not power, not in the crude sense of corn. It is knowledge. The mortal mind craves patterns. It starves for information. It yearns to impose order on the chaos of existence. Tzeentch, the architect of fate, understands this, and so he gives his chosen precisely what they desire. Not in drops, but in a flood. Malachi no longer struggles. He no longer deciphers. He receives. The data chip, his lucky charm, is now permanently fused into the port on his console, its alien metal having grown into the imperial plasteel. The whispers in his mind are no longer subtle suggestions. They are a torrent, a constant streaming feed of data. He sits in his scriptorium, his one sapphire eye blazing, and he knows. He knows the true forgotten name of the planetary governor. He knows the precise orbital decay of the moon Phobos and can predict its crash into Mars to the exact microsecond 9 millennia from now. He sees the fractal equations that bind the material universe to the Empyrean. He can read the shifting prophetic light of the Astronomicon not as a beacon, but as a language, a scream of pain from a dying god. He sees the future. Not one future, but all futures. Every possible permutation of every possible choice branching out into infinity. He feels transcendent. He feels like a god risen from the muck of ignorance. But the human mind was not built to be a vessel for the infinite. It is a fragile biological construct designed for a finite world of cause and effect. It is a cup. Tzeentch is pouring in the ocean, and the cup is shattering. The knowledge does not come in order. It is not a library neatly catalogued. It is a storm of shattered glass, a blizzard of contradictory facts, a cacophony of screaming, unrelated truths. Malachi's mind is tearing itself apart, trying to reconcile the irreconcilable. He tries to calculate the trajectory of a supply freighter, but his calculations are interrupted by the birth scream of a star, the precise genetic code of a tyrannid lictor, and the secret erotic desires of the Inquisitor 3 sectors over. He clutches his head trying to make the voices stop. But there is only one voice that matters, the one that cuts through the din, the cold, sibilant whisper that helps him organize the chaos. And this voice is the most insidious poison of all. Because Tzeentch is the master of lies. He does not deal in simple falsehoods. He deals in half-truths, in misinterpretations, in facts taken out of context. He will give his servant 9,998 verifiable, useful, brilliant truths. But he will embed within them one critical, beautiful, devastating lie. And the mortal drunk on his own newfound omniscience will never see it. Malachi knows that his immediate superior Prefect Gelen is skimming tithes. This is true. Tzeentch showed him the hidden ledgers. He also knows that Prefect Gelen is therefore the head of a Genestealer cult preparing to rise on the next solar eclipse. This is the lie. He knows that the astropath in the central spire sent a message critical of his work. This is true. Tzeentch let him hear the psychic echo. He also knows that this astropath is the linchpin of a vast conspiracy involving 2 Space Marine chapters and a rival administratum house, all dedicated to his personal and immediate destruction. This is the lie. The final stage of this gift is paranoia. Malachi is now a prisoner in his own scriptorium. He trusts no one. Every glance from a servitor is a sign of surveillance. Every flicker of the lumen globes is a coded message. Every data slate delivered is a potential logic bomb. He sees plots within plots, conspiracies, spiraling out to encompass the entire segmentum, and all of them have him at their center. He is the most important man in the galaxy, the only one who sees the real truth. Tzeentch, the great conspirator, ensures that just enough of these paranoid delusions are in fact real. He nudges other agents, he arranges accidents, he makes sure that Prefect Gelen does attempt to silence Malachi, not because he's a cultist, but simply to protect his embezzlement scheme. This act validates all of Malachi's madness. The real threat and the imagined threat become one. He is isolated, he is terrified, he is brilliant, and he is completely hopelessly insane. His mind is no longer his own. It is a playground for the architect of fate, a twisted, broken labyrinth where truth and lies dance in a 9-fold spiral forever. Narrator. The mind is the first casualty, but the flesh is the ultimate prison. The energies of the warp are pure creative and utterly inimical to the stagnant, ordered matter of the material realm. A soul that has been marked by chaos is a leaky vessel, a cracked dam holding back an ocean of transmutative force. The flesh, the poor, dumb clay of the mortal body, must buckle under the strain. It must change. Tzeentch, in his infinite generosity, calls these changes gifts. Look at Colonel Vask. The scales on his cheek, his battle scar, did not stop growing. They are no longer a patch. They are a creeping, iridescent plague. They have consumed the left side of his face, welding his features into an avian helmet-like mask of cold, hard chitin. It is durable. It has saved his life twice, deflecting a last bolt and an orc's crude bayonet. It is a gift. His right hand, the one he uses to point at maps and signal the charge, has also been blessed. The fingers have lengthened the bones, cracking and fusing the nails, hardening into black, curved talons. His skin has peeled away to reveal a sinewy, bird-like claw. It is a gift. With it, he tore the throat from a greenskin attacker who got too close. He is stronger. He is a better warrior. Look at Ilara hiding in the sewer flow. Her skin, once pale, now glows with a faint internal blue-pink light. It is beautiful. It is also completely inhuman, the texture of smooth, cold porcelain. And her back is a ruin of agony. The feathers that first sprouted from her shoulders are now a full mantle. They are not soft. They are crystalline sharp as obsidian shards, and they are rooted deep in her musculature. Each time she moves, each time she breathes, they shift, whispering against each other with a sound like wind chimes in a graveyard. They are a gift. When cornered, she can flare them, a defensive wall of razored glass that has shredded the mutant dogs that tried to prey on her. But this process, this divine gifting, is not the clean, instantaneous miracle of imperial hagiography. It is a biological nightmare. The architect of fate is rewriting the genetic code of his servants, and he is doing it with a crude, impatient, infinitely powerful hand. Do you know the sound of your own skeleton breaking? Vask does. He spends his nights in his cot, biting down on a leather strap, his body convulsing in silent, spasming torment as his spine realigns itself to support his new armored flesh. He feels his fingers snap and reset one by one inside his glove. The scales do not grow on his skin. They erupt from it, tearing the human tissue away in wet, bloody strips. The pain is a constant white-hot scream that has burned away every thought, except the need for the whispers, the cool, logical voice that promises him this is necessary. This is evolution. Ilara's transformation is one of cold fire. The crystalline feathers pushing from her back did not emerge cleanly. They tore through flesh and muscle, shattering 2 of her ribs in the process. Her new porcelain skin feels like a shell of ice, her old warm blood fighting a losing battle against the transmutative energy thrumming in her veins. She is in constant, agonizing pain, a living statue whose every joint is filled with broken glass. This is the second stage of the trap. The whispers, the gifts of knowledge and power made them addicts. The physical mutation makes them pariahs. Colonel Vask finally emerges from his tent, his new form revealed in the harsh light of the Prometheum lamps. His men, the Cadians he bled for the soldiers he saved with his brilliance, do not see a hero. They see a thing. They see the scales. They see the claw. They see the non-human silhouette. The word is whispered, spreading faster than a plague mutant. The commissar, his face a mask of cold, righteous horror, unsnaps the holster of his bolt pistol. The men Vask saved now raise their lasguns against him. His gambits, his victories, his sacrifices. They mean nothing. He is unclean. He is the monster. Ilara, driven by hunger, creeps from the sewers into the lower hive market. She is no longer just a witch to be hunted. She is a demon to be purged. The crowds do not just flee, they scream. Gangers, enforcers, even the rival witches of the Undercroft. They all unite against this blasphemy. She is a shining, whispering, feathered monstrosity. She is a living violation of human form. The world has turned against them. The society they once fought for or hid within has cast them out. They are hunted. They are alone. They are in agony. And now, who is left to turn to? Who is the only voice that still offers power? Who is the only entity that calls their monstrous forms beautiful or strong? Their dependence is now total. They no longer serve Tzeentch for success, or for knowledge, or for control. They serve him for survival. Narrator, the body is a prison. The flesh can be reshaped, broken, and made monstrous. But the true masterpiece of Tzeentch, his ultimate canvas, is the mind, the self. What is a soul if not a collection of memories? What is a person if not a singular, coherent consciousness? This is the next gift, the deconstruction of the I. Look at Malachi. He no longer eats. He no longer sleeps. He merely scribbles his scriptorium, now a 3-dimensional tapestry of mad equations. He pauses, his sapphire eye twitching, and tries to remember. Why did he begin this? What was the name of the administratum prefect he once served? The memory is empty. It is a corrupted data file. He tries to picture his mother's face, a foundational human memory. He sees nothing. No, wait. He does see something. Not a face. He sees the elegant 9-pointed spiral. He sees the fractal beauty of a screaming demon. The old useless data is being purged. Why? To make room. His mind, once a fortress of logic, is now a public library for the warp. His native tongue of High Gothic is tangled with the liquid syllables of the dark tongue, the clicking lexicon of forgotten Xenos, the whispers of demons. The knowledge of Tzeentch is not added to his mind. It replaces it. He no longer thinks of himself as Malachi. That name feels awkward, a poorly fitting garment. The whispers have given him a new name. A true name. Kazarchi, the pen of the inevitable. He likes this name. It feels correct. The man named Malachi is gone, his memories overwritten by the glorious, terrible truth of the great plan. Now look at Ilara. She is no longer one. The psyche by her very nature is a conduit. Her mind is a house with unlocked doors, and Tzeentch has invited in guests. She huddles in a rusted cistern, her crystal feathers chiming softly in the dark. She is whispering. But she is not whispering to herself. She is whispering as herself. Or rather, herselves. He's close, a small, terrified, childish voice gasps the voice of Ilara, the girl who was hunted. We know a second voice answers from her own throat, this one cold, sibilant, and ancient. The hunter is a fool. He follows the scent of the child. He does not see the trap we have laid. A third voice, a high, manic, bubbling giggle suddenly erupts. He'll come, and we'll show him the pretty colors. We'll show him what change really looks like. He'll be so surprised. She is no longer a person. She is a vessel, a chorus. Tzeentch is experimenting. He is fragmenting her consciousness, partitioning her soul to study the effects. One fragment to house her terror, which is a delicious flavor for the warp. One fragment to channel her incredible psychic power, which is a useful tool. And one fragment to hold the truth he has given her, a giggling, insane oracle. She is a committee of madness, a choir of one singing a discordant hymn in 9 separate parts. But the most complete transformation, the most terrible liberation is saved for the man of order, for Colonel Vask. He is cornered, trapped in the same ruined basilica where he won his first tainted victory. His men, their faces masks of terror and disgust, have him surrounded. The commissar, the embodiment of imperial law, steps forward, his bolt pistol raised. Abomination! The commissar barks, his voice amplified by the vox. In the name of the Emperor, I condemn your mutant soul. And as Vask, the scaled, clawed, monstrous thing, looks at the man, the final wall in his mind does not just crack, it evaporates. The whispers, the paranoia, the pain, the fragments of knowledge, they all snap into a single, terrifying, crystal-clear mosaic. He sees everything. He sees the Imperium for what it is, a monolithic, decaying corpse worshipping a dead man on a golden toilet, feeding 1 billion souls a day to a lie. He sees the glorious sacrifice the commissar demands as a pointless, idiotic gesture in a universe that does not care. He sees the Tactica Imperialis as a child scribbles. He sees the great game. He sees the laughing, swirling, infinite consciousness of Tzeentch playing with galaxies as if they were stones. And he sees his own role. He sees that his miracle gambit was not his. Tzeentch fed it to him knowing it would lead to this. This very moment. A moment of perfect, beautiful, concentrated change. The despair of his men, the righteous fury of the commissar, his own transformation. All of it a single orchestrated move in a game so vast, Vask's entire life is less than a single breath. He sees the absolute, cosmic, and utterly hilarious pointlessness of it all. The commissar's finger tightens on the trigger. And Vask, his scaled avian face splitting into a grotesque, inhuman grin, his one remaining human eye, wide with the light of pure, unadulterated madness, begins to laugh. It is not a sound of fear. It is not a sound of defiance. It is a caw, a shriek, a raw, joyous, unhinged roar of understanding. Soul Vask cackles, the sound bouncing off the ruined arches. Judgment, you think any of this matters? You think your emperor is in control? Oh, by the 9, it's beautiful. The man known as Colonel Arvis Vask is gone. He has been broken, hollowed out, and refilled. His loyalty, his honor, his very self have been erased and replaced by the one singular chaotic truth. There is no order. There is no hope. There is only the plan. And the plan is a joke. Narrator, where is the soul during these moments of transformation? When Malak's mind shatters and rebuilds, when Vask's consciousness breaks in that final ecstatic laugh, when Ilara's personalities split and converse. The body is a shell, an anchor, but the consciousness, the self, is dragged elsewhere. It is pulled from the cold, predictable reality of the materium and drawn screaming into the domain of its new master. Welcome to the Lun Gia Qua Tzeentch, the crystal labyrinth. This is not a place. It is a concept given form. It is a sentient, ever-shifting equation of pure magic. The soul of the victim, let us call it the chosen for, it is truly chosen for this torment is now adrift here. It perceives something. It stands in a corridor. The walls are not stone or metal, but solid, unmoving change. They shift in color from impossible blues to vibrant, screaming pinks. The floor is made of pure, crystallized knowledge. With every step, the soul feels the history of a dead star, the genetic code of a forgotten beast, the secret name of a demon, all entering its feet like shards of ice. It looks up. There is no ceiling. There is only an infinite regression of intersecting, impossible staircases built from pure light, each one leading to a future that might be, and a past that never was. The very air itself is substance. It is a mist of pure information, whispering a billion contradictory truths in a billion dead languages. The soul tries to breathe it in and gags on the sheer volume of it. This is the Mekong Bat Ka Ti. It does not obey the laws of physics, for it is the law. It does not obey logic, for it is the source of all paradox. The soul takes a step forward, and in doing so arrives 10 paces behind its starting point. It turns left only to find itself facing the very wall it just turned from. It is utterly terrifyingly lost, and it is not alone. As it wanders the shifting, nonsensical pathways, it begins to see them. The other inhabitants hear a faint, glowing wisp huddled in a corner. It is the last remnant of an elder Farseer who tried to scry Tzeentch's plans and was ensnared. It does nothing but weep its tears, forming tiny fractal puddles of solidified regret. They're a raging, formless mass of pure ambition. It is the screaming soul of a Magos of the Adeptus Mechanicus who believed he could bargain with Tzeentch for forbidden archaeotech. He is now forced to forever build a complex machine that deconstructs itself with every new piece he adds. Everywhere, fragments, a floating, disembodied laugh from a long-dead jester. A clawed hand endlessly sketching a map that changes with every line. A single blazing, paranoid eye that darts back and forth, seeing betrayal in every flicker of the crystal walls. These are not whole souls. They are the pieces Tzeentch found useful or amusing and kept. They are the echoes of failures, the ghosts in the machine. The chosen soul tries to flee from them, but the labyrinth guides it. It is not wandering. It is being processed. And now the tests begin. The soul turns a corner and is confronted by itself. It sees Malachi as he was 30 years prior, a hopeful acolyte taking his first oath of loyalty to the Administratum. The apparition looks at the new, monstrous soul and asks, was it worth it? The soul screams and flees only to find itself in Vask's command tent. A spectral image of Colonel Vask is there, the real Vask, the loyal soldier staring at the mud-smeared map. He turns his face full of honor and despair. You betrayed them, he whispers. You betrayed us. It runs again down a hallway of mirrors, but the mirrors do not reflect its current mutated form. They show its future. In one mirror it sees a hulking, mindless, roaring thing of flesh and scale. In another it sees a towering creature of light and shadow, a prince of demons on a throne of lies. In a third it sees itself shattering into 9,999 pieces of cackling light. The deceiver is showing it all possibilities, the reward, the punishment, the oblivion. He is testing it. What does it fear? What does it desire? The final test is the riddle. A towering, multifaceted crystal blocks the path. A voice ninefold and sibilant booms from the very air. I am the end of all things, yet I am the beginning of all. I have 9 forms but no form. I speak every truth, and all I speak is a lie. What am I? The soul, its consciousness fragmented by paranoia, madness, and conflicting personalities, tries to answer. Knowledge whispers the Malachi fragment. Victory roars the Vask fragment. Change giggles the Alara fragment. Incorrect, the voice hums, and a wave of pure psychic agony washes over the soul. Correct, the voice hums at the exact same time, and a wave of ecstatic power floods it. Perhaps the voice whispers, and the walls squeeze inward, threatening to crush it. The test has no answer. The test is the answer. The goal is not to solve the riddle. The goal is to endure the paradox. The goal is to shatter the last clinging remnants of human logic of cause and effect of self. The soul screams as it is pulled apart, celebrated, and punished all at once. It is being unmade. It is being refined. It is being prepared for its true purpose. Narrator, the soul is not merely tortured for the sake of cruelty. Tzeentch is not Khorne finding joy in simple pain. He is the great schemer, the torment, the mutation, the breaking of the self. It was all a process. It was the forging of a weapon. The Chosen, having survived the labyrinth, is now returned to the material realm. But it is no longer Malaki or Vask or Ilara. It is an agent, a tool, a sorcerer of chaos, a leader of heretical cults, a prophet of the new way. It is a conscious, willing, and utterly deluded pawn in the Great Game. The Great Game is the eternal, pointless, and infinitely complex struggle for dominance between the four gods of chaos in the heart of the Immaterium. It is a war of concepts, Khorne's rage against Slanesh's excess, Nurgle's despair against Tzeentch's hope. And this new sorcerer is Tzeentch's move. See it now, this Chosen standing atop a basalt spire, leading a ritual of 900 cultists. The sorcerer believes with all the certainty of its fractured mind that this ritual is for its power. It believes it is summoning a powerful Lord of Change to secure its own dominion over this demon world. It has followed the whispers, deciphered the clues in its own madness, and arranged the sacrifices in the perfect ninefold spiral. It chants in the dark tongue, its voice a three-part chorus of logic, madness, and command. The sky tears open. The power surges. The sorcerer feels a momentary godlike transcendence. It believes it is winning. It does not see the truth. Tzeentch does not care if this ritual succeeds. This sorcerer is merely one of 900 such pawns performing 900 such rituals across the segmentum. This entire grand, bloody spectacle, it is a distraction, a feint. The true purpose of this ritual is to fail at a precise, preordained nanosecond. Because in that exact moment of spectacular, catastrophic failure, the resulting psychic backlash, the agonizing shriek of 900 cultist souls being consumed at once, will create a specific, minute ripple in the warp. That ripple, propagating backward through the sea of souls, will travel thousands of light years, and 900 years into the past, where it will subtly alter the migratory pattern of a flock of carrion birds on a jungle planet. Those birds, now flying 2 degrees off their normal course, will fail to eat a specific clutch of insect larvae. One of those larvae will mature, grow into a winged plague fly, and bite a minor noble of an obscure imperial house. This noble, now infected with a mild, non-lethal fever, will be forced to cancel his planned hunting trip. Instead, he will attend a diplomatic function where he will meet and fall in love with the daughter of a rival house. Their subsequent marriage, 9 months later, will unite 2 feuding dynasties, preventing a civil war that Tzeentch knew would have inadvertently benefited Khorne. The game is this vast, the plan is this intricate. The sorcerer standing in the wreckage of its failed ritual, its body racked with warp energy, screams in rage and despair. It has lost. It has been betrayed. And this is the true nectar. Tzeentch does not just feed on hope, he feeds on the shattering of hope. He savors the exquisite, complex taste of a brilliant, ambitious plan collapsing into dust. The despair of the strategist, the agony of the true believer. This sudden, violent change from success to failure is the purest sustenance for the architect of fate. The pawn, the sorcerer, is now worthless. It served its purpose. It failed precisely as intended. It is disposable. And when a tool of Tzeentch becomes weak, or serves its purpose, or simply becomes boring, it is not rewarded. It is not even discarded. It is punished. Narrator, this is the moment of final judgment. It is not a trial before a court, but the cold, indifferent gaze of a bored audience. The sorcerer, in its rage, screams a final 9-fold curse at the roiling sky. It demands to know why its perfect plan, its flawless interpretation of the whispers, has resulted in this ruin. It demands more power. It demands an answer. And Tzeentch, for the first time since the very first whisper in that dusty scriptorium, provides nothing. The guiding logic vanishes. The stream of conflicting, exhilarating truths dries up. The cold, precise inspiration that held the sorcerer's mind together is simply gone. The flow of power that once sustained its impossible mutated form, the power it believed it commanded, is not cut off. It is unleashed. The hand of the sculptor has been removed. The unseen divine will that shaped the scales of the soldier and the feathers of the psyker into a coherent, functional, albeit monstrous form has let go. The raw, wet clay of the sorcerers being utterly saturated with the raw, creative, and mindless energy of the warp is now left to collapse under its own weight. This is no longer a gift. This is no longer an ascension. This is the punishment for inadequacy. This is the penalty for being a finished and failed experiment. The sorcerer feels it. A terrible, agonizing, and total release. The energy does not obey its will. It erupts. It begins with a sound. The sound of 1,000 bones breaking at once. The sorcerer's scaled claw, the gift of Vask, twists violently, the talons burrowing into its own chest as the bones snap, liquefy, and reform into a useless, heavy, bludgeoning mass of chitin and raw, pinkish meat. The crystalline feathers, the gift of Alara, once its armor and its focus, shatter into 1 billion pieces of razor-sharp light. But they do not dissipate. They turn inward, reforming as jagged internal spikes, shredding its own lungs, heart, and organs from the inside out in a symphony of wet, tearing agony. The sapphire eye, the gift of Malachi, the pen of the inevitable melts and boils, bursting from its socket in a cascade of liquid prophetic light and steaming gore, leaving only a weeping, empty socket. The sorcerer's body, the vessel that once housed 3 fragmented souls, explodes. Flesh armor robes and the basalt rock beneath its feet merge. It is a biological detonation, a cancerous, hyper-accelerated growth. Skin sloughs off and reforms as bubbling, waxy fat. New, useless limbs, mewling tentacles, and weeping secondary orifices tear their way to the surface, driven by no logic save the mindless imperative to change. It is no longer bipedal. It is no longer a thing of thought or purpose. It is a heaving, tumbling, screaming, amorphous mass of pure, agonizing, undirected transmutation. This is the Chaos Spawn. It is a tumor of flesh and solidified madness, a living monument to failure. Its new vestigial brain, burned clean of all knowledge and ambition, is imprinted with only 2 primal driving instincts, hunger and pain. The beast rears up its new asymmetrical limbs, flailing. It opens a maw that was moments ago a section of its own ribcage, and it releases a raw, mindless, unending roar of pure agony. But the ultimate horror, the true Tzeentchian refinement of this punishment is this. The soul is still inside. It is not destroyed. It is not released into the warp. It is trapped. Deep, deep within that heaving, mindless bulk of mutated flesh, the consciousness of the sorcerer, the fragmented, terrified remnants of the ambitious scholar, the desperate soldier, and the hunted psyker is still aware. It is a passenger. It is a prisoner in the back seat of a car driven by a madman. It has no control over the spawn's limbs. It cannot stop the mindless, bellowing roar that tears from its new, fanged maw. It cannot halt the beast as it mindlessly throws itself against the jagged rocks, or as it begins to tear apart and devour the cooling corpses of the cultists it once commanded, driven by an insatiable, agonizing, and primal hunger. The fragments of Malachi's intellect see the cosmic joke and cannot even laugh. The fragments of Vask's pride feel the ultimate irreversible humiliation. The fragments of Alara's fear experience the final inescapable trap she ran from her entire life. It is a symphony of perfect torment, a brilliant mind trapped in an idiot's body, a proud warrior reduced to a stumbling, drooling beast, a seeker of control now utterly, completely, and eternally powerless, a silent, screaming witness to its own degradation. This is the fate of the pawn that has served its purpose, a living, screaming testament to the price of failure, and somewhere in the infinite labyrinth, the architect of fate, smiles. One experiment is concluded. It is time to begin another. Narrator, that is one path. The path of the broken tool, the failed experiment, the pawn that served its purpose by being sacrificed. It is a common fate, a fittingly grim end to a life of misguided ambition. But what if the pawn does not fail? What if the sorcerer wasn't the distraction? What if the intricate ninefold plan worked? What if the ripple in the warp, the one that changed history, was not the result of failure, but the goal of a staggering, incomprehensible success? What if the chosen, this fused soul of the scholar, the soldier, and the psyker proved itself to be more than just a tool? What if it became an artist? This is the other path, the rarest, the most seductive, the final, most exquisite trap. Behold this chosen, this arch-magister. It has not just performed one ritual, it has orchestrated a century of them. It has whispered the lie that toppled a sector lord. It has corrupted an entire chapter of Astartes, guiding them down the subtle path of unorthodox tactics until they unknowingly worshipped the changer of ways. It has engineered a war that fed millions of souls not to Khorne, but to Tzeentch, by ensuring the war was not one of simple slaughter, but one of betrayal, of broken alliances of hope, shattered at the last possible second. This chosen has not just served the great game, it has played it, and now standing atop a spire of pure, crystallized magic on a world it conquered, it does not beg, it does not demand, it simply completes the equation. It performs the final 9,000th ritual. It speaks the 9,000th syllable of a name that should not be spoken. It sacrifices the 9,000,000th soul, the High Inquisitor, who hunted it across the stars, now bound in chains of frozen light. The ritual is complete, the work is done, the heavens do not collapse, the power does not fail. There is a moment of perfect, profound silence. And Tzeentch is pleased. The architect of fate, the great schemer, looks upon his masterpiece, his most brilliant student, and decides, it is time for a promotion. It is time for the final reward. The sky does not tear open. It unfolds. It opens like a great 9-petaled flower, and from its center a beam of pure blue-pink potential descends. It is not fire. It is liquid change. It is not light. It is pure sentient Azoth. It touches the Archmagister, and the second act begins the death of the mortal. There is a scream of impossible transcendent agony as the weak mortal flesh, the shell of the scholar, the soldier, and the psyker is incinerated. This is not the wet, cancerous explosion of the spawn. It is a clean, absolute unmaking. The scaled flesh, the crystal feathers, the sapphire eye. They do not mutate, they sublimate. They turn instantly from matter to energy, from flesh to concept. The body dissolves into a cloud of whispering crystalline dust. The anchor is cut. The soul that fused multifaceted burning light is now free. But it is not free. It is pulled. It rockets from the disappearing dust, a comet of pure consciousness drawn up the beam of energy. It is pulled out of the material realm completely and utterly. It is pulled through the skin of reality into the boiling, screaming sea of souls. It is drawn past the crystal labyrinth, past the ghosts and the riddles. It is drawn into the very heart of the storm, into the impossible, all-seeing, ever-changing presence of Tzeentch himself. The soul, naked and aware, is plunged into the forge of the god. It is unmade. It is torn into its base components, the ambition of Malaki, the desperate pride of Vask, the fearful power of Ilara, and a million other fragments of lives it has consumed. And then, it is reforged. It is hammered on an anvil of paradox. It is quenched in a river of liquid lies. It is folded 9,999 times, each fold imbued with a different contradictory truth. The will of Tzeentch is not just guiding it, it is becoming it. The raw, divine, limitless stuff of chaos is poured into the mold of this soul. And then the third act, the immortal rebirth. Back on the Daemon world, the cultists below the spire look up weeping in rapture. The vortex of power pulses. The cloud of crystalline dust, all that remained of their master, does not disperse. It begins to gather. It swirls, drawing in the raw energy of the warp, pulling matter from the very air around it. It swells from a cloud of dust into a storm, from a storm into a form. A new being descends its feet, claws of shifting, solidified light, touching the spire, cracking the very crystal it stands on. It is no longer a thing of mismatched flesh. It is a giant. It is a being woven from shadow magic and captured starlight. Its skin is not skin, but a flowing liquid tapestry that shows 1,000 possible futures, all of them ending in screams. Vast, beautiful wings made not of feathers, but of pure, crystalline, solidified lies unfurl from its back, casting the world in a prism of insane colors. Its face is a vortex of pure blue-pink fire, and in its depths, 9 eyes burn, each a miniature star of impossible, agonizing knowledge. The demon prince of Tzeentch has been born. It opens its mouth, a tear in the fabric of reality itself, and it speaks. Its voice is no longer a fractured three-part chorus. It is a symphony. It is the voice of Malachi, of Vask, of Ilara, and of the 9 million souls it sacrificed, all speaking in one perfect, harmonic, terrifying unison. The sound itself rewrites the laws of physics around it. It is power. It is knowledge. It is immortality. It has escaped the prison of flesh. It has escaped the simple cycle of life and death. It has ascended. It has become a god. This, then, is the ultimate reward. This is the pinnacle of ambition. This is the final, glorious victory, or so it seems. Narrator, and so it is done. Victory, ascension, immortality, the pinnacle of the mortal struggle, the ultimate reward for a life of perfect, ruthless ambition. This is the greatest, most profound, and most masterful lie of the architect of fate. Look at this new god, this demon prince. It feels a sense of purpose swell within it, a grand cosmic ambition. It will raise armies. It will topple stars. It will lay siege to the very heart of the Imperium. It believes with all the conviction of its new divine intellect that this is its will, that this is its grand design. It is wrong. This is the first shackle of its new freedom. It has no will of its own, not anymore. What the demon prince experiences as ambition, as inspiration, as will, is now nothing more than a direct, unfiltered, and irresistible command from Tzeentch himself. It has not become a god. It has become a hand. It is an extension of its master's will, as surely as the sorcerer's claw was once an extension of its arm. It is a beautiful, powerful, intricate tool that has been granted the illusion of choice. It will play the great game, but it will never play for itself. It will only ever make the moves its creator has ordained. It is a prisoner of its own divine nature, a puppet of infinite power that is now and forever absolutely convinced that it is the puppeteer. This is the immortal prison, and there is the second shackle. Its very existence is now conditional. A mortal body, for all its weakness, is self-sustaining. It needs only air, water, and sustenance. A demon prince is a creature of the immaterium. It is a construct of pure belief, magic, and solidified change. In the material realm, it is unstable. Its glorious immortal form leaks. It bleeds power. It is a vortex that must constantly, ceaselessly feed simply to maintain its own shape. It must work. It is no longer an individual. It is a permanent, high-ranking functionary in the cosmic bureaucracy of Tzeentch. It must scheme. It must plot. It must foster ambition and then betray it. It must spin the webs of intrigue that feed its master, because that same psychic sustenance is the only thing that holds its own immortal body together. It has not been rewarded with a life of divine leisure. It has been promoted to a life of eternal compulsory labor. It can never rest. It can never stop playing the great game. If it does, its form will unravel. Its glorious ascension will end as it dissolves back into the raw, mindless energy of the warp. It has not won the game. It has simply traded its life as a pawn for an eternal existence as a a king piece bound by rules forced to move and existing only to serve the player. But the true horror, the final Tzeentchian masterstroke of the trap, is not the loss of will, nor the burden of existence. It is that the original soul is still aware, deep, deep within the heart of that blazing divine monster, deep inside the symphonic, godlike voice. The echoes remain. The fragments of the scholar, the soldier and the psyker are not annihilated. They are not integrated. They are imprisoned. They are the audience. They are the lucid, terrified, screaming consciousness trapped within the god machine. They feel the power of the demon prince. They see through its 9 eyes. They know the secrets of the cosmos. And they know with an agonizing, crystal-clear certainty that they control nothing. The ambition of Malachy is still there, and it sees with perfect clarity that all his knowledge has only led him to a cage of Tzeentch's design. The desperate pride of Vask is still there, and it understands that in his quest for a chance to win, he has entered a game that cannot be won, only played forever. The fearful, hunted spirit of Elara is still there, and she realizes with a despair that echoes for eternity that in her quest for control, she has achieved a state of absolute, total, and irreversible servitude. This is the fate of the victorious soul, not oblivion, not peace. It is the conscious, lucid, unending experience of being a slave who is worshipped as a god. It is the final, perfect, and eternal paradox. Narrator. The paths of the spawn and the prince are the 2 great extremes. They are the ultimate dramatic fates reserved for those who play the game with passion, whether they fail catastrophically or succeed magnificently. They are the stories Tzeentch tells to frighten and inspire his followers. But what of the others? What of the countless middle management of chaos? The cultists who were devout but not brilliant, the sorcerers who were competent but not masterpieces, the souls who were useful but ultimately replaceable. Their fates are not so grand, but they are perhaps even more fittingly Tzeentchian. These are the average souls. They have served their purpose. They have plotted, they have changed, they have hoped, and they have despaired. They are not strong enough in their ambition and success to warrant the investment of a demon prince's form. They are not weak enough in their failure to be deserving of the blunt, mindless punishment of the spawn. They are raw material. They are recyclable assets. An artisan does not throw away good leftover clay, he reuses it. Tzeentch takes these B-grade souls, and in an act of terrible, indifferent efficiency, he deconstructs them. He does not forge them, he shatters them. The soul, the complete consciousness of a once human being, a person who loved, who feared, who dreamed of power, is brought before the architect of fate. It is held in his conceptual 9-fingered grasp. And it is broken. It is split not in 2 or 3, but in 1,000 pieces. The personality, the memory, the very self is fragmented into tiny psychic shards like a mirror dropped from a great height. Each shard retains a tiny echoic fragment of the original, a spark of ambition, a mote of paranoia, a flicker of mad, cackling joy. And what becomes of this psychic dust, this shattered mirror of a soul? They become the building blocks for his legions. They are the nuclei for his lesser demons. They become the horrors. Look, a new demon is born in the warp. It is a creature of pure, raw, chaotic energy given form, and a mischievous, malicious sentience. It is a pink horror, a gibbering, leaping, manic creature made of solidified joy and spite. And at its very center, the seed from which it grows is one of those shattered soul fragments. That cackling, insane laughter, that manic, destructive energy, that is the echo of the mortal it once was. It is the last remnant of the cultist who laughed in mad ecstasy when he first saw the truth of the universe. It is the paranoid energy of the scholar who saw plots in every shadow. And here the true genius of the punishment is revealed. For the horror is a creature of Tzeentch, and its nature is change. A squad of grey knights, pure and righteous, banishes the pink horror with their holy fire. The demon dies, but the soul fragment is not released. It is not destroyed. the trap has another layer. As the pink horror shrieks in its death throes, it splits. Its energy divides, and in its place, two new, smaller, different demons appear. Two blue horrors. They are no longer manic and joyful. They are morose, depressed, and whining. They are the other side of the original soul. They are the despair of the failed ritual, the misery of the broken mind. The shattered personality is now at war with itself, split into its constituent warring emotions. The joy of hope, the misery of failure made manifest. This is the eternal fate of the average servant, to be shattered, to be reformed as a cackling, mindless demon, to be hunted and killed, to be split into a more miserable, lesser version of itself. And when those blue horrors are in turn destroyed, their essence, those tiny soul fragments, will be drawn back into the labyrinth, reconsumed, and eventually reformed into a new pink horror, to begin the cycle all over again. It is an eternity of manic laughter and bitter despair, a revolving door of madness, a perpetual, painful, and utterly pointless cycle of death and rebirth. This is the true meaning of change in the lexicon of Tzeentch. Not progress, not evolution, just the loop. Narrator, we have seen the paths of the ambitious, the prince, the spawn, the horror. These are the fates of the strong, the willful, the brilliant, and the spectacularly foolish. They are the souls who engaged with the great game, who staked their very self against the architect of fate, and received their agonizing rewards. But what of the masses? What of the trillions of hive workers, indentured laborers, and frontline guardsmen? What of the souls so crushed by the monolithic weight of the Imperium that their ambition is not to rule, but simply to survive another day? What of the weakest, the truly insignificant, the ones who in a fleeting private moment of despair do not make a pact, do not perform a ritual, but simply wish for a different life? The terrified guardsman moments from being overrun who whispers, "Let this just end differently." The administratum drone who, seeing another 900-year backlog of data slates, idly thinks there must be another way. These are not players. These are not even pawns. They are currency. When these souls die, their faint, lukewarm lights are not even dignified with a personal judgment. They are not strong enough to be forged. They are not complex enough to be shattered and reformed. They are not interesting enough to be studied. They are simply consumed. There is no transformation. There is no test. There is no agonized journey into the labyrinth. Their faint spirits, their dim echoes in the warp, are drawn by the great, cold, indifferent psychic tide that flows toward Tzeentch's realm. They are pulled to the great, shifting, crystalline walls of that impossible maze, and they are dissolved, like a single snowflake landing on a hot plate, like a drop of pale watercolor falling into the ocean. Their essence, the totality of their meager, desperate lives, is unmade. Their faint hopes, their petty fears, their dull dreams of an extra ration or a day of rest, all of it is rendered down into its most basic, primal component, raw, unformed energy. This energy is the fuel for the great work. It is the mortar between the bricks of the labyrinth. It is the ambient power that Tzeentch's true sorcerers draw upon. It is the faint, psychic breeze that whispers down the crystal corridors, a sound without a source, a memory without a mind. Their entire existence is reduced to a single momentary flicker, a sip of power for the great schemer. There is no chaos spawn, its soul trapped screaming in a prison of flesh. There is no demon prince bound in eternal conscious servitude. There is no cackling cyclical torment of the horror. There is only obliteration, absolute and total cessation. The self is not just broken, it is erased. The story is not rewritten, it is simply deleted. And here, in the final crushing irony of the 41st millennium, in a galaxy where the only certainties are war, pain, and eternal damnation, perhaps this is the only true mercy the changer of ways ever bestows. To be so utterly hopelessly insignificant that you are not even worth the effort of a conscious torment, to be simply and absolutely forgotten. Narrator: the screaming spawn, the enslaved prince, the cackling cycling horror, the obliterated dust. This is the menu of fates, the catalogue of ends, but you are still missing the fundamental truth. You are still asking the mortal question, the human question, what will happen to me? And the answer. The final devastating secret of the architect of fate is this. Tzeentch does not care about you. He does not care about your name. He does not care about your soul, not as an individual entity. He did not care about Malachi or Vask or Ilara. They were not special. They were not chosen for their unique potential. They were simply convenient. What the great schemer cares about, what he truly desires, is not the object, the soul. It is the process. It is the narrative. It is the story of your damnation. A brute like Khorne finds joy in the simple artless act of taking a skull. It is a crude one-note transaction. Tzeentch is a connoisseur. He finds joy in the intricate, beautiful, complex plot that leads to the soul's forfeiture. He savored the irony of a man of pure logic, Malachi willingly, piece by piece, embracing pure, irrational madness in the name of more logic. He savored the paradox of a loyal, dutiful soldier, Vask being led step by step to betray his every oath, not through malice, but through a desperate, brilliant attempt to uphold his duty. He savored the tragedy of a terrified, hunted girl, Ilara, who in her desperate search for control was guided into a state of total fragmented possession. The soul is just the stage. The damnation is the play. Tzeentch is the author and the critic and the entire roaring audience. And what does he eat? What is the sustenance he draws from this elaborate, cruel theater? It is not the soul stuff itself. It is the change. It is the psychic, conceptual energy released at the precise moment of transmutation. He does not eat the soul of the scholar. He feeds on the rich, complex flavor of paranoia as it blossoms from the seed of intellectual pride. He does not consume the soldier. He savors the exquisite, agonizing taste of disillusionment, that perfect singular moment when the flawless, intricate plan collapses and hope shatters into despair. He drinks the arrogance of the demon prince and the secret, silent terror trapped within it. He nibbles on the mindless, raging agony of the chaos spawn as it realizes what it has become. Hope, that is the true delicacy. Hope is the ingredient that gives the meal its flavor. And Tzeentch is the ultimate chef, patiently, meticulously, and expertly nurturing that hope, guiding it, strengthening it, just so he can savor the crunch as it finally inevitably breaks. And why? Why this endless complex game? Why this cosmic theater of cruelty? Is it for power, as the great game implies? Is it for sustenance? Yes, but those are secondary. The true final purpose is knowledge. Tzeentch is the god of change, but he is also the god of knowing. The entire galaxy, every mortal, every daemon, every star, is part of a single infinite and ever-changing equation. He does not know the answer, he is the question. Every soul that he claims, every plot he spins, is an experiment. It is a new variable, a new data point in his endless cosmic calculation. What happens? His consciousness asks, if I apply this specific heretical piece of knowledge to a mind of this specific rigidity, the result is Malachi, data collected. What happens if I give a man of ironclad duty a taste of victory, but only through forbidden, unorthodox means? The result is Vask, data collected. What is the stress limit of a nascent, untrained psychic mind when hunted not by a brute, but by a fanatic? The result is Ilara, data collected. The demon prince is the result of a successful experiment. The chaos spawn is the result of a failed one. The horrors are the recycled leftover test materials. The consumed, forgotten souls are the control group. Your soul is not the prize. Your story is the prize. And your story is nothing more than a single line of code in his infinite, mad, and glorious equation. Narrator. And so you believe you have seen the end. The spawn is slain, its physical agony concluded. The prince is defeated, its reign of terror in the materium over. The horrors are destroyed, their maddening cycle apparently broken. The story, it seems, is finished. This This is the final, most hopeful, and most insidious lie. In the grand, cold, calculating cosmos of Tzeentch, there is no end. There is no destruction. There is only change. Look, the psychic energy from the slain spawn. It is not dissipating. The agonizing, trapped, fragmented soul within, it is not freed. It is released. Released back to its owner. The banished essence of the demon prince. It is not destroyed. It is merely recalled. It hurtles through the sea of souls, an arrow of pure, furious, humiliated consciousness, flying straight back to the heart of the crystal labyrinth. The final fading motes of the destroyed horrors, they are not gone. They are reforming. They are coalescing, drawn back to the great central mass of their master's power. Nothing is ever lost. Property is not misplaced. It is merely recycled. The soul stuff of the failed spawn is reabsorbed into the great forge. It is melted down, the failure of its previous form burned away. The essence of the demon prince is brought before Tzeentch, punished for its temporary defeat, and then reforged its immortal pride, now tempered with the new, delicious and useful knowledge of failure. The great schemer takes this clay, this used, recycled, eternal essence that was once a scholar, a soldier, and a psyker, and he remolds it. Perhaps he will spin it into a new complex prophecy, whispered into the mind of a new, ambitious acolyte. Perhaps he will forge it into a single perfect crystalline feather on the wing of a lord of change. Perhaps in an act of cosmic ironic spite, he will simply press it back into the form of a pink horror, forcing the entire cycle of madness to begin again. This is the truth of the number 9, the sacred number. It is not a line charting progress from A to B. It is not a path from mortal to God. It is a loop, a spiral, an Ouroboros eating its own ever-changing tail. Hope leads to ambition. Ambition leads to change. Change leads to power. Power leads to madness. Madness leads to form spawn or prince. And form, whether through failure or temporary victory, leads back to Tzeentch, back to the beginning. It is a grand cosmic self-sustaining equation of scheming. And the final joke, the plan, the great game, it has no end. Tzeentch himself does not know where it leads. He does not plot to win, for winning would mean the cessation of the game, the end of change. He plots because he is the plot. He schemes because it is his very nature, just as it is Khorne's nature to rage and Nurgle's to decay. The soul of the mortal is not a player. It is not even a piece to be won or lost. It is a single recurring note in an eternal ninefold symphony of divine, glorious madness. Narrator. We have reached the end of the path. Or rather, we have reached the point where the path, having coiled 9 times upon itself, returns again to its own beginning. We have followed the trail of the damned. We have walked the corridors of the human mind from that first quiet, seductive spark of intellectual pride to the roaring, infernal conflagration of absolute cosmic madness. We have traced the spiral. We began with a scholar in his dusty cell, a soldier on his bloody field, a psyker in her dark, wet hovel. We began with a single simple and catastrophically human yearning, a need for something different. We began with a question simple in its form, yet infinite in its implications. When a mortal suffocating in the cold, unfeeling, stagnant grip of a galaxy that knows only war whispers a single desperate prayer, not for salvation, not for strength, but merely for change. And when the architect of fate, the great conspirator, the changer of ways, listens, what is the final price? What is the true fate of the soul? We have seen the process. We have seen the hook of the first lucky coincidence, the brilliant idea, the fortunate surge of control. We have seen the slow, winding chain of reliance. We have watched the flesh itself corrupt, the agony of mutation, the divine gifts that mark the soul as unclean, casting it out from the very race it sought to transcend. We have seen the mind shatter. We have seen the singular coherent self dissolve into a warring, insane chorus of conflicting voices. We have journeyed screaming into the impossible labyrinth of crystal, and we have seen the pawn forged in madness placed upon the great board. And now we stand at the end of the game looking at the board, and we finally see the truth. We see the prizes and we see the penalties. Here then is the final catalogue of your eternity, the ledger of your soul. First, there is the fate of the uninteresting, the fate of the billions, the hive worker who idly wished for a different shift schedule, the guardsman who prayed for a minor plague to strike his abusive overseer, the souls too weak, too simple, too dull to be worthy of the artist's brush. Their dim, lukewarm lights are not forged, they are not shattered, they are simply consumed. Their essence is rendered down, their entire lives reduced to a single drop of fuel for the greater works of Tzeentch. They are the mortar in the walls of the labyrinth, a single, silent, forgotten scream, an erasure, a fate in this galaxy that is so absolute in its finality, it might almost be mistaken for mercy. Then there is the fate of the failure, the ambitious, the brilliant, but the flawed, the tool that served its one precise intended purpose, perhaps by failing spectacularly, and was then found inadequate. This is the path of the chaos spawn. This is the ultimate screaming cosmic joke. All that knowledge, all that ambition, all that power, inverted. It is the agonizing, eternal punishment of the mind. The soul, your soul, remains. It is lucid. It is aware. But it is sealed, powerless, a silent, screaming witness inside a mindless, roaring, cancerous prison of its own flesh. You are the passenger in a car driven by pure, agonizing instinct. You will watch your new, hideous, useless limbs tear apart those you once commanded. You will feel the hunger, the pain, the mindless, undirected change. You are the brilliant mind trapped in the idiot's body forever, a living, heaving, screaming monument to the high cost of almost succeeding. What of the useful, the competent, the vast middle ground of the damned, the souls who were good but not great? They are not wasted. Oh no, Tzeentch is above all ruthlessly efficient. These souls are recycled. They are shattered like a grand mirror, dropped from a great height onto stone into 1,000 psychic fragments. Your personality, your pride, your joy, your paranoia, all of it broken. And these fragments are used. They become the seeds of demons. They are the nucleus of the pink horror, its manic cackling joy, a twisted hollow echo of the hope you once felt. And when that demon is slain by bolt or blade, your torment is not over. It merely changes. You split. You become the two blue horrors, your joy now inverted into the morose, bitter, bottomless despair that was also always inside you. You are forever trapped in a cycle of manic highs and agonizing lows, a revolving door of death and rebirth, a screaming, pointless, eternal loop that perfectly and mockingly encapsulates the lie of change. And finally, the prize, the victory, the ultimate ascension, the demon prince. You have played the game so well, you have plotted so perfectly, you have become a master. Tzeentch rewards you. He elevates you. He burns away your flawed mortal flesh and reforges your very essence in his own divine forge. You are reborn, a god of shadows and light, immortal, powerful, eternal. And you are a slave. You are a puppet of cosmic divine power. You have no will. Your every thought is his command. Your ambition is his move in the great game. Your immortality is a conditional, eternal, and laborious job. You must constantly scheme, constantly feed your master, or your divine form will unravel. And deep, deep, deep inside that godlike, monstrous form, the tiny, mortal motes of the scholar, the soldier, and the psyker are still there. They are the conscious, terrified, screaming audience trapped forever, watching their own hands, their own self move against their will. you have gained eternity, and in exchange, you have lost you. The spawn, the horror, the prince, the fuel. A prison of flesh, a prison of logic, a prison of shattered self, a prison of godhood. The common thread is the prison. But why? Why this elaborate, cruel, and beautiful theater? Because Tzeentch is the god of hope. That is the final, most devastating, and most brilliant truth of all. In a galaxy ruled by a decaying corpse on a throne of lies, a galaxy defined by war, by stagnation, by ignorance, and by the crushing monolithic boot of the Imperium. In a reality where the only correct state of mind is fearful, thoughtless, and stagnant obedience. What is the one true original sin? It is hope. It is the simple human act of believing. Tomorrow can be different. It is the scholar who believes I can know more. It is the soldier who believes I can find a new way to win. It is the psyker who believes I can control this. This is the energy Tzeentch craves. Not rage, not despair, not excess, but the complex, delicate, rising flavor of hope. He is the ultimate connoisseur of this emotion. He fosters it, he feeds it, he guides you up the ladder, letting you taste success, letting you feel the thrill of your perfect, intricate plan coming together. Why? Because the only thing more delicious to him than the taste of hope is the psychic shriek it makes when it is at the last possible second shattered. He is the one who watches the brilliant mind finally realize its perfect equation was a lie. He is the one who savors the agony of the commander, who realizes his brilliant victory was the precise intended move that doomed his entire civilization. He does not just want your soul. He wants your story. He wants the irony. He wants the tragedy. He wants to savor the complex, multi-layered psychic taste of your disillusionment. Your hope is the light, and he is the god who defines himself by the shadow it casts as it is extinguished. And so we must conclude. The true fate of a soul claimed by the changer of ways is not death, for death is a simple, merciful end. It is not immortality, for immortality is a prize for the victor, a state of being. The true final and inescapable fate is revision. It is the loss of agency. It is the absolute, total, and eternal deconstruction of the self. Tzeentch does not destroy you. He does not devour you, not in the way a simple beast devours its prey. He archives you. Your soul, your mind, your entire being. It becomes a text, a piece of literature, a story added to his infinite, impossible, crystalline library. You are no longer a person. You are a concept. You are the tragedy of the ambitious scholar. You are the paradox of the loyal traitor. And as the author of this grand cosmic archive, Tzeentch retains editorial control. He can pick your story up 9 millennia from now and change it. He can edit your memories. He can rewrite your core motivation just to see what happens. He can remix your soul with that of a failed elder farseer just to observe the new complex flavors of madness it produces. You are not dead. You are published. You are not gone. You are filed. You have not lost. You have simply become a word, a single mutable data point in his great unknowable equation. And that scream, the one that began in the scriptorium, the one that echoed on the battlefield, the one that culminated in the birth of the spawn or the rise of the prince, that scream never ends. It is not the sound of your death. It is the sound of your story, being read and reread and rewritten forever. It is just one more plot, a single artistic, agonizing note, echoing perpetually within the shifting, impossible, and laughing crystal labyrinth.